Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, all you hippies out there and psychedelic midnight cowboys and all you San Francisco folk. This is the Girl George and the Dragons radio show. I'm Girl George, and today we have a very, very special person for you. We got a time machine going back to the beginning, back to the old Red Dog Saloon in Virginia City and the Avalon Ballroom. We've got the guy that did the light shows, the liquid psychedelic light shows there. We've got Bill Ham with us today. Hello, Bill. How are you doing?
Doing good.
When did you start doing the light shows?
I think it was 64-ish, and it's a little vague, but basically there was a professor at San Francisco State, Seymour Locks, I think was his name, and I'm not even sure what his class was, but it was something to do about art. And he had an overhead projector and introduced the idea of putting something on this transparent overhead projector that would project up on the wall. And I don't know if he related it to the European Bauhaus people and everything before that as far as projected imagery. But that idea of using the overhead projector sort of began in his class in as far as the local legend. So somebody from that group, I don't think it was Elias Romero, although that's one version, but I think Elias was exposed to it in L.A. because somebody from that class that summer within the poets and the whoever's down there did something on an overhead projector that Elias Romero saw. And so for several months or however long in LA there were people that would try it once or twice and then they would go on to something else. And Elias Romero continued to do that. And when he came up from L.A. as part of the artist situation that used to go back and forth kind of between L.A. and San Francisco, and he shared a studio with Ronnie Davis, who started the Meme Troupe. And on Sundays, they had sort of a free-form art happening that if you could pay, you paid $1 at the door. And these Sunday after evening things featured a variety of the avant-garde, including Ronnie's group and some musicians that would improvise, and Elias Romero projected on several occasions there with dancers, with something. And I saw the overhead projector there for the first time because they didn't have them in schools when I went. And these were what Elias had, and what I originally had were Army surplus overhead projectors. And so Elias and I collaborated with Lee Brewer, famous New York theater director and so forth now, but he was part of the underground, so to speak, art collectives of people and all the levels of theater and dance and music and painting, and all of that was going on. And we did it. We collaborated on a theater piece with Lee, and I made a sculpture, dog, wolf thing that was part of the play, and Elias did projections. And after that, he moved into a house across the street, and after getting together a couple of times, he lent me an overhead projector. So I took the overhead projector across the street to my basement, unfinished studio live space, and began using the overhead projector. So that's
how old were you at this time? How old were you?
How old? Oh, well, see, I'm a decade older than most of the band people and others of that, what evolved into, rock and
the
roll.
The hippie thing. Yeah, I'm 69, and you're what, 81?
Yes.
You're 81?
Those musicians are in their 70s. And so that's the decade I'm talking about. But anyway, there was a lot of art of all levels going on in the city, and but anyway,
and this
the
was back
show,
in, 64? Was this in 64?
Yeah, something like that. And then I began doing that in my studio, and then...
in the Haight-Ashbury? Were you in the Haight-Ashbury?
No, the Haight-Ashbury didn't exist. This was Pine.
It was a Fillmore at that time.
Yeah, okay. It was Pine Street. So Pine Street was the first neighborhood, so to speak, of what became, if you want to, hippies. I'm among those that are not too, I don't need that word, but anyway, bohemian
but that's how people
artists
relate to it, because they don't understand anything better. So don't. So
well, it's okay.
It's an easy word for people to relate to that are 20 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes from hip and all the connections to all the connections, and so anyway, basically most of the music up until then was in North Beach in the coffee houses, and of course a real hip jazz scene going on with the jazz workshop and all of that, and then the electronic composers were at the Tape Music Center. So there was so much going on, but the light show projected imagery introduced a whole other world. And the first version out of my studio that happened was this collaboration on the electric panel, not electric, but anyway, a panel of plexiglass. And on that panel of plexiglass were moving shapes and forms and changing colors all the time on the different shapes and forms. And so you got form, and you got kinetics, and you got color, and it was programmed to respond to music. And so there was like an infinite combination of combinations if you tried to do the math, because there were 3 mobiles that were on electric motors, and different lights were on at different times, and then it was responding to music. And so that was the first light show at the Red Dog Saloon. And
that was in Virginia City, right?
Yes, indeed. And I recommend...
the Charlatans were there, and Travis T. Hip, and who else?
Well, Mark Ubanovsky was the person whose family financed it, and there were a bunch of people that were starting to live up there. They liked deserts or something, and they could go outside and shoot guns. So a few of those
they liked those guns, didn't they?
Yeah, there were a few of those people up there.
Guns and acid, what a combination.
Yeah, well, and so,
So what year was that the Red Dog Saloon happened?
I don't know. I'm no good at dates in history.
You don't know what year it was? Around 64, 65?
Yeah, it's whenever the Red Dog Saloon happened. And it was a rather unique happening, and the band went up and played an audition, and in the meantime they had remodeled or fixed up, propped up an old saloon, that had a beautiful bar and plate glass behind it and all of this. And so all of a sudden these long-haired and so forth people all suddenly started working on this old bar, and the next thing you know, the charlatans are up there, and they played an audition for Ubanovsky. You had to drive from San Francisco to there to play the audition. I took the manager up initially that accompanied us when we went to see Mark about some kind of light thing he wanted. And out of that is how the light panel developed. And the manager brought an old tape, or a brand new tape, but it was kind of low quality. And so the end result was Mark said, well, if they'd come play an audition. So this is all part of the charlatans' history. But anyway, they ended up with the job and the gig or something, and it lasted several months. And when things got a little too far out and everybody had to come back to the city, half of them moved back in to the Pine Street neighborhood, which had moved up to Virginia City as part of the entourage, dishwashers, bartenders, and all the other things for the Red Dog. And so that's when I happened to have the keys to 5 houses. I think, well, maybe it was 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 houses on Pine Street. With this real estate guy was buying up all these houses, and ended up tearing down 2111 and that whole half a block, and built some kind of terrible thing there. But anyway, those while he was buying the houses up, he would rent to anybody. So it turned out to be the early spillover from North Beach, basically. And so when it all sort of started in 60 and 61 or something, everybody walked back and forth every night to North Beach because that's where the coffee houses were. And at some point you played there, but all these people played there before, the rock and roll thing. And
I played there in 66.
Yeah, well, you were quite a bit later, but
yeah, I know.
But North Beach, Grand Avenue was still that part of the culture. The poets, painters, the school, the art school up on the hill, and so forth. But it kind of was filling up, and so the spillover ended up over on Pine Street, right above Japantown. And that's where the famous Herb Green photo is in the vacant lot between 2 of the houses that I had the key to. So the first big house was 2111, and that's where everybody started living. Each person had a room, and it was kind of far out. And then there was the vacant lot where the picture was taken, and then there was another big Victorian house, and in the unfinished basement of it is where I made a living space, and that's where I started doing the overhead projector. And soon after that, the landlord bought another house, just a couple of houses past there. And in that house, which also was rented out in rooms, so I had to give the landlord enough money each month to kind of relate to renting rooms out. And so, the rooms were, I think the lowest was maybe $25, and then $30, and then $35, I think, was
what,
top
a month?
room.
A month?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so then just before the gang all came back from the Red Dog, he bought another house about 3 blocks up the street at 1836. And so all of a sudden it filled up with quite a bit of whoever had been at the Red Dog, and not the musicians, but others. And George Hunter did live at the house that I ended up having the first light show studio in. And so we began doing these light shows there with 2 overhead projectors. And at first there was a musician named Christopher Tree, and he later collected, his thing was percussion instruments and woodwind. And he played what he called spontaneous music. So that was what we did. We did this first spontaneous example of music and painting. And
how did the Avalon Ballroom start and Chet Helms and all that get together?
Well, when everybody came back, and that house that they all moved into became known as the Dog House, because everybody that came back from Virginia City had a dog. And so they also needed to make some survival money. All of a sudden, this job that everybody had had one version or another of at the Red Dog was over. So that's how the dances sort of got made up, and the first dances were at the Longshoremen's Hall. And that's when the bands had to join the musicians union. And nobody talks much about this, but it had some influence on what went down, including Bill Graham had an ally when he started going around the neighborhood getting people to sign, businesses to sign a thing saying that it would be okay to have a Fillmore or whatever it was going to be upstairs in the old Fillmore, whatever it was. And it wasn't a ballroom, though. And so the Avalon had a dance floor, and it was a ballroom. But they both had in common that there were no fixed seating. And so coming all the way from the Longshoremen's things into the Fillmore and Avalon, it was seen as a rock dance concert or whatever they want. But dance was a significant element. And that's the one thing that Bill immediately did away with at the Fillmore East. And, it became, as the lady photographer that did the book said, rock theater. But
where they sat down rather than danced, huh?
Well, yeah, it was fixed seating. And you went in and sat down in your seat. And, of course, nobody seems to mention any of this when they start recalling a lot of things. And the thing was, the light show turned an old drab ballroom into what, was described as psychedelic. And so what we did basically was just use the whole room, and everything in it, because the Avalon had no stage lighting, and it didn't really have any kind of, regular lighting. And so the light show was the light. And as a result, that was some of those early dances where the bands were in it, the people were in it. It was a participatory thing which was all the straight theater people were trying to make something up that would involve the audience, and it goes on and on. But a dance really involves the audience, or they're not the audience anymore. But the light show was a significant element, and almost anybody that walked up the stairs of the Avalon, whether they were the business executives from L.A. and so forth and so on, or the the ballet company with the London Ballet or whatever that came to town, whoever came up the steps of the Avalon, the great thing was you were in it because you didn't have to, like the Fillmore, go around and then finally go through the door and go in there. When you got to the top of the stairs of the Avalon, you were in it. So how Chet Helms did all of that, that's all history. But anyway, projected imagery, and I see it as painting, and the ballroom thing was being able to paint three-dimensionally, so to speak, all over everything and everybody. And then another version is where it's like a lot of music and art. You go in and sit down and watch and listen. And so I see that as a way to present that form. And in that form, there's no after. So for the first time, you're the person that's going to view the art is there when the art is made up. And this is kind of, different than doing it in a studio and then after, quote, it's finished, which can be in 10 minutes or 10 years, finally it gets somewhere and others see it. So the light show became a very, or in this form for me, what do you call it, immediate art. And it's always made sense to have music with it. And it's with the dances, that was that kind of music. And in the very beginning, there was a lot of improvisation. And because there were several reasons. One was mostly the bands didn't know enough, songs to hurry through something, so they could just play it longer. And on another level, when you're playing for people to dance, that's what your purpose is. And so the same with the light show, we were
okay, now we've got like 7 minutes left. So what I want to talk about now is what you are doing now and the Kickstarter thing that you have now.
Yeah, for the first time, I'm working on a painting that will be something you can have in your own home, which will be using the same imagery that the light show, the liquids, the abstract kinetic painting, and it'll be on a DVD. It'll be a 1-hour composition, and it'll be just like having a painting on the wall, except it'll be on your big, nice television set. And you can either just leave it on, and it'll be this kinetic thing that actually has a beginning and a ongoing composition relationship, and will conclude in about an hour. And if you want to sit and watch it, then you can do that too. Turn the lights off, and that's one way, and then you can play your own music with it. But rather than try and have some music on this one that everybody likes, it's a painting, and paintings traditionally don't have music. So that's my Kickstarter project, and I have about a week left to make the budget. And Kickstarter is a wonderful thing, and if I make my budget, I think this will be something that will be beautiful, and it'll be a 1-hour DVD painting.
I think it would be amazing. They could put it on the projector too, couldn't they? Put the DVD on the projector and project it on the wall.
Absolutely, anything you can do with a DVD, this one will do it. And
or you could do it at the clubs while you're just spinning your records. You can
then I want somebody to pay me. If they're going to use it at the clubs,
Oh, they can't use it at the clubs. Only at home. Okay.
No. This is art. This is for your home. It's not for the club. Yeah. I can make something for people dancing again, but I'm not really too concerned. And in the meantime, at 81, I'm the overhead projector, and that kinetic imagery is quite beautiful. And so I still enjoy it myself. And there's a thing I think on my Facebook or something of my 5-year-old, and he was 3 at first, grandson painting with me. So it's on a number of occasions, starting with my daughter, children just love it. And my grandson's in Tokyo, but he told his mother the other day he wanted to paint with Grandpa. So anyway, I hope.
So they can find you as just Bill Ham on Facebook, and all your other stuff connected to that, right?
Yes, I have a website.
That'd be the easiest thing to find.
Yeah, Bill Ham Lights, and then the Kickstarter is on the Kickstarter, and if you go there and where it says projects, you type in Bill Ham, you'll see what my Kickstarter proposal is, this painting that I've described. So if anybody can help pledge to make it happen, that'd be great. And in the meantime, the 60s were a wonderful time, and the important thing is to continue, all of that wherever you are and whenever you are.
Yeah, the art and the music keeps going on. It just keeps evolving into different forms, but it's all there. It's always there.
Yeah. It's just keep it happening. And
where are you from originally? Where are you from originally? Are you from Tennessee
I'm from the Mississippi Delta. And,
wow.
Basically, that wasn't what was on the popular radio, blah, 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 and so forth and so on. And on the other hand, if you were in that community, it was the blues and all of that. And if you ever saw a row of cotton in the Delta, then you'll understand the blues, because a row of cotton in the Delta goes forever. When you're in hill country, you can see the end of the row maybe, but so yeah, and the whole economy was based on cotton when I was.
So San Francisco is the promised land, right?
Well, and,
utopia
for everybody.
Yeah, for the magic and the music.
Absolutely, and everything else. You can make a list, and it's here, and a good version.
It's all here. I thank you for being on my show. The show's just about over now. Thank you, everybody, for listening in, and you find Bill Ham on Facebook or wherever. You'll find him, and you got to be part of making this thing happen. This is the Girl George and the Dragons radio show, saying thank you for coming, and see you later, alligator. Bye.